Bonsoir les gens, ils ne sont pas venus.
Voilà, c'est comme ça.
Ok.
Quand les petits soient pas venus. Hola, bueno, pues vamos a comenzar hoy con la charla que nos va a dar Yaovi Zounon. Como he puesto antes en el correo, va a hablarnos de lo que han sido sus actividades dentro de este proyecto, que son un tipo de proyectos, bueno, si habéis recibido correos normalmente, pero yo creo que se conocen poco, que son los proyectos I-Coop, que son proyectos de cooperación que financia el CSIC, y como también os he mandado la información hoy, yo creo que no se suelen solicitar mucho y son relativamente, yo creo que no son difíciles, ¿no?, de conseguir, y están muy bien, porque son para colaboración con otros países. Entonces Yaovi nos va a presentar qué ha consistido este proyecto, lo hace en inglés, y nada, pues ya lo dejo a él.
Buenos tardes, everyone. I'm Yaovi Zounon. I think that everyone know me very well here. I'm from Benin, West Africa. It's a small country, very close to Nigeria, between Nigeria and Ghana. So it is a small country, a coastal country. We have more or less, I think, 125 kilometers of coast along the Ocean Atlantic. So my presentation to this morning is on our I-Coop project, scientific collaboration for the study of the planktonic ecosystem of the Benin Ocean Atlantique-Coastal Lagoon complex. The main result we have and the different impact of this project. The presentation, I will make some brief history of the project, the key objective of the project, the project area, the different activity we carried out in the framework of this project, and at the end, the impact and the perspective for the future. At the beginning, I think to remember that in 2022, I was in Fuengirola with one friend from Lebanon in the framework of Pogo shipboard training. And at this moment, it was my first time in Europe, my first really training in oceanography out of my country, and I learned a lot. I find a lot of things which was very new for me about techniques, practice, and all this gave me several ideas in this moment. And at the end of my training, at this moment, I discuss with the grupo in which I make my training, the Mediterranean Climate Change Group, Cambio Climático, and I tell him that that will be very interesting to collaborate with our research group in Benin, and they accept. My directors from the university or from the institute in Benin also accepted, and they decided all to put together their effort and collaborate. It is in this context, CSIC opened a call of a proposal, and all the team decided to submit one project which started collaboration for scientific and technical improvement in the study of the Atlantic Ocean Coastal Lagoon complex, planktonic ecosystem in relation with the oyster Crassostea tulipa farming. The main objective of this project was to establish the link between the research group, the different research group from Benin and CSIC in general, in order to establish the sustainable scientific collaboration for the sustainable management of the coastal and marine water in Benin, but why not in all the Gulf of Guinea area? Also, to characterize the environment dynamic and the risk associated with the phytoplankton, especially the toxic phytoplankton, for the suitable oyster farming in Benin coastal water. Another objective is to strengthen the local technical and analytical capacities, and at the end to design and implement a program for the monitoring of the environment and focus especially on phytoplankton. That was the different objective. But why study phytoplankton in this area? Why promote the oyster farming? Remember, I present my project, my PhD project last year here, and I explained it very well. But I have to remember it that my country, as I told at the beginning, is a small country. We have more or less 10 million persons for the population. And we need the food from the ocean to cover our alimentation, our daily alimentation. And the estimation to feed this 10 million persons is to have a production, aquatic production, which is more or less 106,000 tons per year of fish. That will be enough for our population. But the problem is currently both of aquaculture and the fishermen, the natural extraction from the fishermen, provide only 40,000 tons per year. So we have a deficit. And to cover this deficit, my country continue to import the fish products, the fish from out of our country, from Europe or from Asia, especially from China. And we can't continue like that because it is not the products of really a first quality. So we have to produce our own fish, aquatic products to feed our population. And how we will manage? Our country decides simply to follow the recommendation of the global system of food and agriculture, which is to better manage our natural resources, to promote the aquaculture, not aquaculture focused on one species, but aquaculture which is very diversified, and also to promote especially a family aquaculture. Why? If in our context we promote the aquaculture which is destined to only the person who have a huge money to do this aquaculture, that will not solve the problem. So we have to promote one aquaculture which will permit to the basic population to make it easy and to have his income and to have his food from aquatic ecosystem. So that is the point. In this framework, we decided to promote one species which is Crassosea tulipitis, an oyster, a bivalve from the sea. It is a marine species which grow very well in estuary ecosystem also. Why these species? We know that if we want to introduce one species as food for one population, you have to be sure that at least the population used to eat this species, and also the population used to manage or to fish this species. That is very important. So these species especially constitute the main source of protein, aquatic protein, for all the population of the Gulf of Guinea, especially the coastal population. They used to eat very well these species. And also, each year, you will find along the coast, many women go to the ecosystem, to the aquatic ecosystem, to exploit it, to collect this oyster. And several studies show that this species provide many incomes for our basic population in all the Gulf of Guinea coastal area. That is the point. So we don't choose the species just like that. We choose it because it is the solution. And I will not, we will not here to justify the species, but to talk about the activities we make in the framework of our I-Coop project. We can subdivide in two big phases the different activities we carried out in the framework of this project. The first phase is my several visits in Malaga, in the Centro Oceanográfico of Malaga. It is the first phase, I can say. And the second one is the visit of Dr. Francina in Benin. About the first phase of activities, remember that all these projects is focused on phytoplankton study in marine and coastal area in relation with the oyster farming. So when I was coming last year, I don't come just with the phytoplankton data. I came with several data about oyster growth on the coastal lagoon, phytoplankton data, oyster larvae dynamic in the coastal water data. The oyster spat is a juvenile of oyster, dynamic also in this ecosystem, and the environmental data. So I came with several data, and we have to analyze all this data in the framework of my stay here. All this data come where all this data come from. All these data were collected in the framework of my PhD. And I collected this data especially in the coastal lagoon of Benin, which circle in the with red line. Remember last year I showed you the coastal region of Benin. We have two big estuary complexes, which all of them connected with the Ocean Atlantic. We have the first one regroup the Nokwe Lagoon, Porto Novo Lagoon, and the Ocean Atlantic, and the second one regroup Lac Aime Lagoon, Coastal Lagoon, and the Ocean Atlantic ecosystem. So, in the framework of my PhD, we subdivide the coastal lagoon in three big areas of production of oyster, and in which area we define three sampling points. These subdivision is not just like that. It's according to the traditional village of production of oyster in this region. And monthly, we make the sampling collection around I think for 1 year, more or less 1 year and 2 months. And I came with all this data. I will remember this video of the coastal area of Benin. It is the coastal lagoon. A beautiful ecosystem with the mangrove and the lagoon which is connected with the Ocean Atlantic. So when I came with all this data, we have to organize ourselves in our group. So we make 2 groups of work. One focus on the statistical analysis, and the second one to validate all the species of phytoplankton we find in our sample in Benin. The first group is with Dr. Francina, and the second one with Dr. Manolo. And at the end of my training last year, we can't finish to analyze all this data. So we continue the work online after I left. And remember, at the end of my training last year, I presented the data about the larvae dynamic in the coastal lagoon, the data about the oyster growth, and the environmental data. We finished with this data before I leave. So when I leave, we have to write the paper and publish. It is what we did, and the first one is published in the Frontier in Marine Sciences. It is this journal is well known in Europe. It is from Europe and imparted journal. The second data about the oyster growth is also finalized and accepted to be published in Ocean. It is the proof is currently is under review to be put online. We make a third paper, a small paper in African Journal of Bioscience on the environmental data. After this data, we have another kind of data, the data about the spots of oyster and also the data about phytoplankton. Remember the methodology, I showed this methodology last year, how we follow the recruitment of the oyster spots. The idea is simply, we have several associations of women, which is more or less, which not go to the school. It is a traditional village. We have just to provide to these several associations, you have to go to the lagoon in the framework to the promotion of the aquaculture, oyster farming. You have to go in the ecosystem in this period to organize the artificial collection of the oyster spots, and after that, you have to put your juvenile oyster in this part of the lagoon to make the growth. That is the point. But if we told them to go in this period, and we don't tell them that if we go, you have to put your substrate to make the collection of the spot, the juvenile. If we don't tell them to put it, maybe on the fundo, near from the sediment, or in the middle, or at the surface, we don't resolve the problem. So we design one system to follow where will be better, the area where the part of the lagoon which will be better, and the depth level which will be better to make the artificial collection of oyster spat. And monthly we go, we remove, we dive, we remove all, we place a new substrate, and each month we count the number of spat we have in the different area and the different depth level. And about this, the paper is also written and is under review with my bosses. But I can show some result of this objective. We find that they have to organize the recruitment, artificial recruitment, at the beginning of the year, especially in the dry season. We find that the recruitment is very high from the December to May in this ecosystem. After that, we don't have the recruitment of the oyster, but we find that it is a huge recruitment. Many quantities of oyster spat. And we find that about the depth level, will be better to put the substrate on bottom and also in the water column, but not in the surface, because the better result, the better density of spat was obtained on the bottom and also in the water column. About the area, we find that the area of Jonji, remember I present all this area last year, I don't have to present again the same thing. The area of Jonji, which is very close to the moot, the ocean moot, it's moot or inlet, the connection between ocean and the lagoon. The area of Jonji, which is very close of this connection, recorded a huge quantity and the highest density of oyster spat. So, in our advice, in the framework of the promotion of aquaculture, oyster farming, they have to concentrate their effort of artificial collection of spat in this area. About the phytoplankton, remember I showed this methodology last year that when we collected this data, we don't have, in this moment, the microscope, and also we don't have a niche bottle. So we use simply the phytoplankton net with 20 micrometer size to make a monthly sample in which sample station of this ecosystem, and we analyze with our photonic microscope with a different key of identification. And I bring all these species here to validate with them. We find a total 113 species of phytoplankton in this ecosystem, dominated by the diatom. We have the dinoflagellate, which come after the diatom, and also the eglena. So, what we find also, we find that more or less 80% of all the species of phytoplankton we find in this ecosystem, according to their occurrence, was the accidental species. So this results show that this area is very dynamic. according to its connection with the ocean and its connection of other continental ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem. So that is very important to not focus only in just 1 year data to justify the number of the species of the species of phytoplankton we find in this ecosystem in the framework of the oyster farming promotion. So that is important to implement a monitoring program to this region. We find also that it is just some result. We find also that the area of Jonji recorded a high number of species. This objective we make one poster at the scientific colloque of the University of Lomé in West Africa with this data. And we write also another paper, but it is currently under review in our group. This is basically the first phase of activities we carried out in the framework of our project. The second phase, as I told, is the stay of Dr. Francina in Benin from 24 to 29 November 2024. What we did, remember, the project is to put together, to make the contact between our different research groups. So we make a conference in different research structures in the university and in the Institute of Oceanography. And we make in which of this conference we introduce the CSIC and the whole EOE, and also we introduce for the person our I-Coop project. And the third thing we did, which this, we choose a small group of a student. If we make the theory and we show the Niskin bottle and how to sample, to analyze on the screen, and we don't make the practice, that will not be good. So what we did, we choose a few students from several universities, but not only just a student. The student who focus already on phytoplankton in the framework of his work, or research work, maybe bachelor work or master researches. And we bring this small group on the field in the Atlantique-Coastal Lagoon, and Dr. Francida show us, well, you can see, show us how to use the Niskin bottle in the field, on the field. And after that, we come to the lab to make the sedimentation and the identification of phytoplankton with an invasive microscope, which I bring from here. If we did all this, and we don't go to the population, because the project, it is for the population, I said. But if we don't go to the population, that will not be good. So we go to the population at the end of all this to show them, all of them don't know anything about phytoplankton. They just see the ecosystem, they go to fish and go back at home. So we make a huge sensibilization with this population to introduce them the phytoplankton species and the toxic phytoplankton species in order to sensibilize, to awareness them to better manage the ecosystem and to avoid the risk associated to the toxic phytoplankton in the oyster farming area. Oyster, which is a filter, a bivalve, and known as accumulator of a bioaccumulator. So that is the point we make. This photo is several. They have many persons. We just took the picture, took just one part of the population, and when we finish, we go to the ecosystem and they show us the oyster which they farm in this ecosystem. So globally, it is what we did in the framework of the project. About the impact, as I said, all the data was collected in the framework of my PhD. We analyze all the data and we publish, we make the publication, the scientific publication of several of these data. Simply, my PhD is completed. So, my PhD studies are finalized now, and this thesis is currently submitted to my university to a public defense. Also, another impact of our project is our university proposed Dr. Francida and Dr. Manolo to be member of the tribunal of the defense of my PhD in the University of Abomey-Calavi. The third impact is that really the Benin student and the technician from laboratory are training in phytoplankton sampling in marine and coastal environment using a bottle, Niskin bottle. Also, the student and the technician from laboratory are training about the sedimentation technique and the observation of phytoplankton with using a invasive microscopy. Before this project, we don't use this technique. We use the phytoplankton net and the photonic microscope. So it is really a progress with the I-Coop project. Another impact is that our oyster women association already know that they have some minuscule organism in the ecosystem which can be toxic, which is a phytoplankton. And we make awareness. Another impact which is very interesting is that in the framework of this project, if you see the proposal we submitted, you will see that we make that in the long term, we will put together another center of oceanography or another group, research group from here or from another center of IOE, together with our group and to collaborate on a huge project. And we don't wait, definitely the group, the Cambio Climatico group, is a group which don't wait at the end to start another game. So they put me in contact with the Centro Oceanográfico of Baleares. In the framework of another project I proposed in this period to evaluate the quality of the environment of oyster farming, because we focus in the framework of this project on phytoplankton, toxic phytoplankton, but it is not only phytoplankton, the problem about the pollution in oyster environment. We have microplastic, we have physical chemical pollution. So we make one project with this center, the Centro Oceanográfico of Baleares, on microplastic in this environment, and we got this project. And currently, the one researcher from this Centro, from Baleares, was in Benin, and we make the sample, and they bring the sample with one student from Benin, and he is currently in Mallorca to analyze all this data also. So, about our perspective, we find that our study area is very dynamic. So we need to make a small monitoring program in order to follow which year by year the dynamic of the phytoplankton in this ecosystem. We also need to deep my level in biostatistical analysis, because we find it was very difficult for me in this first phase. So it is very important to deep my knowledge in the biostatistical analysis. But it's not also only me. Also, the Benin student need really to deep his level in statistical analysis. So we planned to make a training on air programming with the different students from different universities of our country. So for all this perspective, we need to find the finance. So we submit another project. We don't know if it will be work, but even if it don't work, we will submit another project, to find the necessary support to make all this perspective. So to finish, I want to thank all the members of the team of the project, and thank the Centro of Malaga, which helped me a lot since 2022 to deepen my knowledge in oceanography and especially in biological oceanography. I thank also CSIC with the I-Coop program to provide me the necessary support to complete all this work. And at the end, I want to thank all of you to your collaboration, to your friendship, and to your kind attention with me since last year. And to finish, my family, the Grupo Mediterráneo de Cambio Climático, and I want to say that I'm not just come here to find a researcher. I find a family. The person who was very kind and who work with his heart. Muchas gracias for your attention.
Bueno, ahora como siempre, si alguien